Hey, Joe from Boulet's Garage. Hey, I'm making this video about the recent findings of that New Hampshire is going to be doing away with state inspections. And I see some YouTube channels out there talking about it that have thousands of subscribers. I haven't even hit 1,000 yet. But there's a lot of people in the comment section that's saying that, yeah, state inspections are a ripoff. They take you for your money and all that. Well, if they were done properly, this wouldn't be a problem. So if you watch this video to the end, I thank you. So I can get to the gist of it. I want to give you two sides of the coin here. And it's not just about the mechanics um, and people getting ripped off. It's about livelihood and whether or not um, you want your car to be looked at and be safe. So I thank you for watching if you do so. Hey, Joe from Boulet's Garage here. So the state of New Hampshire is going to be eliminating state inspections as far as I know. They're going to eliminate the mechanical portion of it and the emissions portion of it. Now, it's going to be bittersweet for shop owners like myself. You got to understand something that during the cold winter months when work tapers off, state inspection stations have keeping shops, small shops like mine, alive. Now, there is probably more dishonest shops than there are honest shops, and it's really not fair to the honest shops, such as mine. And I'm going to tell you more about both sides of the story, what it entails to have a state inspection station, and why you should have your car looked at continually, regardless of whether or not your state has a mandated state inspection. Hold on. Okay, so I'm going to show you some of the things that state inspection stations in New Hampshire have been required to have. And first one being is the spec guide. Now, I have probably referenced this once, only to look for valve adjustment specs on a Honda because the label was missing from the under the hood. And guess what? The specs weren't in there. So a lot of people don't know it, but every state inspection station is audited, and a trooper will visit the station without any warning at all. And I had an issue with one of the auditors. I had to pick my daughter up at school. She was sick, bring her home. I put a note on the door saying I would be back, and that wasn't sufficient. So what am I supposed to do? But anyway, enough of that. We'll talk further about that later. So this spec guide right here, they're no longer in print, and it's right around $180 for that. And what it has is specs in there for ball joint play, etc. Um, you name it, it's in here for almost every vehicle. But you can find whatever you want for information online. So it never was really useful for me. All right, moving on now. You're looking at a headlight aimer. Every station is required to have one of these. And just every single vehicle that comes in the shop is supposed to have their headlights aimed. Now, it takes quite a bit of time to set this up. And I can never really, I can use it, I can get the headlights to aim, but not so great sometimes. So I have on my wall over here, sorry about the mess, but I have these marks on the wall to basically get a baseline for aiming headlights. So I got a line painted in the floor over here, And the inspector comes in and he sees it and he says, "You don't go by that, do you?" I'm like, "Yeah, actually I do, to get an idea where the headlights might be. Because if one headlight's pointing up at the ceiling over there, I'm going to know that I need to put the headlight image on it." But the thing is that they don't really work that well for LED lights, and most cars have LED lights today. Okay, so looking in my toolbox, underneath here is where I keep my state inspections, and my stickers, the backers actually, they must be locked in here at all times. So one inspector told me it was okay to leave the stickers in my box as long as I lock the box at the end of the day. Well, another inspector comes in and he says, "Now, so what do you do with the stickers?" I says, "Well, they're in here and I lock them at the end of the day." He goes, "Every time you get a sticker, then you need to lock your tools up." I'm like, "What?" The other inspector told me that was okay. And he says, "No, no, you're in violation. I'm going to write you up, but I'm going to just give you a warning." I'm like, "Okay." So in my box here, I have vernier calipers to measure brake rotor thickness and whatever else. And this has nothing to do with inspection here. That's a thermal imager. So I have, where is it, folks? All right, so this is a window tint meter. And in New Hampshire, you're not allowed to put aftermarket window tint on your windows. You can, but there only can be a certain percentage. So I had to buy this tint meter, which is just about under $200. Oh, by the way, the headlight aimer, when I had to have it to start my shop, that was just under $800. So tint meter must be used for checking the window tint. Now the hypocrisy of this all is that, okay, let's take my truck over here for example. It's got super dark windows in the back. They're right from the factory, right? So that's okay. But if I were to take and want to put this tint on my side windows, no, you can't do that. So I think, getting rid of state inspection, and someone wants to tint their windows now, that's great, because I don't have to see the look on someone's face saying that they can't have a window tint on their window. So it doesn't make sense to me that a state like Massachusetts, that's just south of New Hampshire, they can have tinted windows, but we can't. But now we can. So in Massachusetts, you have to wear a helmet on a motorcycle, but New Hampshire, you don't need to wear a helmet, right? So in Massachusetts, you got to wear a seatbelt. New Hampshire, live free or die, you don't have to wear it. A lot of people just clip it and sit on it and hope the airbag doesn't kill them if they get in an accident. But there's so many variables to this. And what it comes right down to is, I think on a federal level, it should be nationwide that there is a basic mechanical safety inspection for all cars. Now, if you're thinking that, oh, you're just saying that because you're a mechanic, it's part of your livelihood. Yeah. Well, in the wintertime, when it's slow, I work by myself, and state inspections have kept me afloat. Now, I'm honest about my inspections. I went right by the book. If the state says you can have 2/32 of an inch of brake pad lining, it'll pass on that day of inspection, that's fine. But honestly, that's not fine with me. I mean, I would put a sticker on the car, but I don't let a customer go away here knowing that they don't have any brake lining left on their car. Now, the thing with brakes is that the performance is diminished so slowly. People don't notice it. If I drive into the shop and almost hit the lift on my way in because the brake pedal goes to the floor, I'm gonna let the customer know about that. But there are so many things I had happen, and I'm gonna fill you in on a few of them, just a few of them. Okay, so one of the times I got audited, the trooper came in and he looked at my old micrometer here with a flat anvil on it, and he looked at me and he looked back at it and he goes, "This is no longer acceptable." Now, in tools required in the menu on the end host unit, which is the state inspection computer, it says nothing about that, having a flat anvil. So I had to go out and buy this micrometer, set of calipers, actually. See the pointed ends? So, right there. So I needed those, he said, because I can't effectively measure in the grooves of a brake rotor. Now I replied to him, I don't know. I have a hard time not speaking my mind sometimes because common sense to me is kind of rare. Now the trooper was doing his job. The guy knew every law in the book, and that's fine. But if a rotor's so bad it's got grooves you got to measure into, you're not going to machine it. And I don't have a brake lathe here to do so. And by the time you get down to good metal, the rotors jump. It's too thin in most cases. And with the price of rotors today, you might as well just replace them. But there's been things that happen over the course of time that I won't miss having a station. Now, ironically, I just sent in my renewal. So there's a lot of things that have happened over the years. And ironically, I just sent in my state inspection renewal to renew my station. And you have to have your certification renewed every 2 years. It costs $50 every 2 years. And I just sent the $50 in. And I called the state today and I said, hey, what's up with that? So I just renewed it for 2 years, and basically their only state inspection are only going to be still in effect for 3 months. Well, we don't know. We're working on that. And I'm like, okay. So I'm talking to this woman, and she is concerned because it's her job. Now she's got to look for a job. And I looked into it, and the state of New Hampshire brings in over $40 million a year with state inspections, whether they charge, there's over 1,800 inspection stations, so there's fees every month for that. So now she's got to look for a job. That's what she's thinking. Now, the state of New Hampshire or any state, all of a sudden they don't have $45 million of revenue. What do you think they're going to do? It's going to go up. Something's going to go up, whether it be highway tax, whatever, fuel tax. They're going to get their money back one way or the other. So I can't help but notice I watched a politician in a suit and tie saying how unfair the state inspections are for people with low income. And you know what? There's an easy solution to that without taking these inspections away. Why don't you just be more lenient? If people want to have tint on their windows, have tint on their windows. Don't fail them for a little rust hole in their rocker panels. Because maybe, just maybe, if you stop putting salt on the roads, they wouldn't have to worry about rust. People work from home. Do you really need to put salt on the roads? And not to mention, what's it doing to the groundwater? Does anybody even think about that? It's just so hypocritical to me that everybody's freaking out over climate change, and they're totally oblivious to the fact that why you have to have your car checked for emissions, not just because of what comes out your tailpipe. It's the unburned fuel vapor. So let's say that everybody in the United States opened their gas caps all at once and let it vent out into the atmosphere. That would add carbon to our already fragile planet. Now, you wouldn't really consider me a tree hugger, but kinda I am, because what pisses me off is that we're dumping plastic into the ocean. You know, does that anybody can we do something about that? So what you're doing right now is you're taking away the livelihood of honest mechanics like me, and I have a shop across the street from me. He's an honest guy. another shop right up the road from me. We talk, we communicate on and off. And there is a shortage of mechanics for all of you who don't know that. So what you might be getting missed on state inspections now is going to be shoved to the back burner. And then when something breaks, you're going to need it fixed immediately. And guess what? Right now, I'm booking a week and a half, 2 weeks out. Why? Because I'm not one of these shops that books out a month, month and a half. That's ridiculous. I mean, you go to your dentist and it's like, oh, we'll see you in 6 months. Yeah. Or, if you got a tooth hurt and I can't get you until, 2 weeks or whatever. It's going to be a lot different. A lot of you don't realize that there is a shortage, a big time shortage of mechanics. If you don't believe it, the other shoe's falling right now. So this is not only bad for the shops in a certain respect, the honest shops, but the ripple effect is going to be overwhelming. So if you really want to know what the problem is with state inspections, I'm going to fill you in. Flat rate pay system. The dealerships abuse it. I worked at a dealership for 20 years. I couldn't be part of it anymore. I just couldn't. If you didn't have a car in your bay, you weren't making money. Does everybody understand that? It's not like you punch a clock in and sit down behind your desk and you get a paycheck guaranteed every week if you're getting paid salary. No, you have to basically have a vehicle in your bay every minute. And when flat rate, a guy gets good at a certain job, maybe it pays, like let's say for brake pads, you get paid 1 hour's labor to do the brake pads. So first time you do brake pads, say you've never done them before, you get paid 1 hour to do it. Say it takes you an hour and a half to do it, you only get paid 1 hour. So next time you do it, it pays you half an hour, you get paid an hour. So you can see how it forces you to work harder and harder and harder. You're older, your back hurts. Oh, I don't care. I'm going to give you 4 sets of tires to do. It's unattractive for anybody to be in this business in itself. So we're going to see what happens, and I'm going to hope for the best. But and for those of you who have stayed to the end of the video, one thing the Northeast has that the South doesn't have, that doesn't do state inspections, we have frost heaves. Yeah. And that puts an enormous strain on ball joints, tie rod ends, stabilizer links, wheel bearings, all that stuff. So there's a lot of people out there. I put it on my Facebook page. There's a lot of people out there that still want their car checked over for safety. And if I can say something, if one of my customers is watching this, every time I do an oil change on your car, I look it over for safety every day of the year that I'm working here at the shop. So for those of you who are shop owners that are worried about this, don't worry about it. I think we're all going to stay just as busy. But for those of you who don't really know what's going on, there's a lot of people that complain that can't afford to have their car fixed. And people buy cars they shouldn't buy in the first place. They don't. If you can't afford to buy, let's say, a brand new BMW or an Audi, you can't afford to buy a used one. Because the person that got rid of that car couldn't afford to keep it. So if you got the money to have someone constantly working on your car, fine. But if you don't go out and buy it. I had a guy come to me, oh, you got a Cadillac Fleetwood. He loves the car. It's awesome. I only paid $250 for it. Well, it needs an instrument cluster to pass inspection. What do you mean? Well, you can't see it. Your speedometer doesn't work. Nothing works. And it was, I think at the time, like $1,000. He goes, only paid $250 for the car. I says, yeah, but that's what it's going to cost to fix it. Anyway, everybody, I hope you understand. This isn't the last I'm going to talk about this. There's a lot more to talk about. And what it comes right down to is your vehicle should be safe. Again, I think there should be a nationwide state inspection. You gotta have good tires. Your exhaust can't be falling off. You can't have a gas leak. Your brakes gotta work good, steering, all that. You gotta have a windshield. But for God's sakes, if we just back off on this a little bit, we might be in a better place.